Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Listen, this just isn't an update. I mean, this isn't just an update. It's a bus level announcement. If you've been sleeping on Flare or thinking Ripple wasn't watching closely, it's time to wake up, bro. Backed by Ripple, built by Into the Block, powered by Flare. Over the last 60 days, the signs weren't hidden. They were laid out in plain sight. From XRP staking with Firefly to Flare saying Ripple is building the rails and Flare is the playground. This is the buzz you don't want to miss, baby, because XRP 5, it's about to shift into overdrive. Let's get into it, baby. What's going on, crypto people? Listen, the market is doing what the market does. We'll go over those numbers. Legendary's in the building. Crypto Eddie laid out a post. I got to tell you, this was some good stuff. Flare Networks did their, what do I want to say? They did their version of confirmation. Flare Networks did their version of how do you say blah, 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 blah without saying blah, 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 blah. Flare Networks did their version of that legendary as well. Why are there no analytics going on right now with the stream? Doesn't say anything about viewers. Make sure I'm live. I'm live over there. I'm live over there. What's going on? What's going on with the stream? We have to refresh and see what's good. Appreciate you guys checking in. Happy Tuesday. Major announcement. I mean, it's not an announcement. It's just a major post. One of those thought-provoking posts from the legendary Crypto Eddie. I'm going to share with you guys. Hopefully this live stream is working the way that it should. I don't know what happened there. There was no statistics, no stats, other than the stream condition was excellent. Maybe it'll do better this time after a little refresh. It says it's public, says the stream is live. There it is. There it is. That's the stuff we're looking for. So we're good on that front. Let me do this real quick. Appreciate you guys checking in. Suggestive statements, eh? Yeah, that's what it was kind of like. That's what it was kind of like, legendary. We're going to get into that for sure. I'm going to refresh CoinGecko so we can go over these numbers. Crypto Eddie, very, very interesting post. Bitcoin back down under 95,000 again. Oh, nope, 96. How about that? That's cool. We'll go over those numbers as well. I'm going to share a few minutes, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, I think, from Raoul Pal at the Sui Base Camp, his presentation. I think it's important. I think it's important to share for sure. So I'm going to do that. That's probably going to take up most of the live stream. Miss CryptoCeej is out walking, and I know she's going to want to do some dinner and stuff. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to go. Listen, old money merch is out. You want to grab one, definitely do so. There'll be a link in the description of the video for that. What's that? That's yeah, you can get it without the CryptoCeej on it if you want to do that as well. Appreciate you guys checking in. Do me a favor and hit that like button on the way in. That'd be really, really cool. We always like to have just as many likes as we got viewers on the stream. Did you check your LP positions today, family? Are you in any position? That's another question as well. What happened to the stream? I thought we were in good internet conditions, man. The storm, it passed. It passed, and everything's probably just my laptop, huh? All right, so got that. Got that. I can't really get rid of anything here. I'm trying to think if I can help my poor little laptop out any. Uh, yeah, I appreciate you guys checking in for sure. I guess I can get rid of this. I don't really need SDT transfer. Yeah, interesting post. I'm telling you, legendary Crypto Eddie laid it out. And again, Flare Networks did their version of, kind of confirming some stuff. Let's do this. I'm going back and forth with this guy on X. That is interesting. We're having a good time with that. Let me get rid of this one as well. This to help with the live stream. Yeah, because you guys are saying it's all good and dandy, huh? But on my end, it's just not great. All right, let's close this. Man, oh man, close that tab. As well. Appreciate you guys checking in. Do me a favor, hit that like button on the way in. I really want to hop right into this post from Crypto Eddie. I think this is awesome. Again, we're not going to be on here too long. Uh, but I do want to share. I want to get into this post because this is long. The TLDR is talking about Ripple and Flare, and that's coming together. Something happening at this XRP Apex 2025. The bus has been shipped, et cetera, et cetera. Bus number 2 has been shipped, Joe Buddy. Uh, yeah, it's big stuff. It's it's big time stuff. I just got to say. All right, I'm going to get right into this post because the big macro picture from our guy, Raoul Pal, that's going to take 10 to 15 minutes to listen to this dude lay out the macro for us so that we don't lose our mind and FOMOing and taking leverage and all that other and not thinking when moon is coming for the alts and all of that. That's going to take 10, 15 minutes. So let's get into this post for crypto. Let me find it. And let me get that. Let me make sure I have that right here. I did all I could. Yep, there it is. Perfect. All right, let me share it. Let me share it. This dude, Sir Lords, he and I have been going back and forth on X. It's been fun. All right, this is from the legendary Crypto Eddie. So she reposted this CoinDesk announcement. Let me read the CoinDesk announcement for you because we got to have some context. That's a fancy word. Context, right? Oh, you know what? All right, shoot. All right. Anyway, CoinDesk into the block and Trident Digital merge to launch Centura, a DeFi gateway for institutions. Backers include New Form Capital, Ripple, and Tribe Capital. Further research showed that Flare Networks was in some kind of round in this Centura thing as well. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Let me do something real quick. Let me do this real quick. Hold on. I have to do this because otherwise can't see the threads, man. Can't see the threads. All right, so let me share this real quick. Thank you. Appreciate you waiting. All right, let me share Crypto Eddie's post or repost about this announcement. Share, that's fair. Get rid of that. All right. So this is what Crypto Eddie had to say. She says, I'm calling this a Flare X slant XRP bus announcement. I'm calling this a Flare XRP bus announcement. And I'm going back and forth with this dude on X talking about Ripple kick Flare to the curb. Anyhow, I'm calling this a Flare XRP bus announcement. Ripple backs into the block. Now Centura HQ. You got a post or two from Centura here. They just posted something just a few minutes ago. It says it's a merger. Ripple backs the into the block now Centura merger. Below is all hiding in plain sight. And she gives a little breakdown here with dates and all kind of stuff. Ready? Number 1, in February, Into the Block launched comprehensive dashboard analyzing Flare Network's DeFi ecosystem. March 24, Into the Block posted on X hashtag XRP restaking on Flare is a massive opportunity. I saw the post. I didn't think nothing of it. April the 10th, Into the Block replies to Hugo's post. You've got my attention. This is reference Firelight and restaking. XRP. I try to tell my guy that I'm going back and forth with that Hugo and Flare Networks is going to a Ripple event talking about XRP staking. What do you mean? Kicking them to the curb. But anyway, April 11th, Crypto Eddie goes on to post here. Community Flare, big time Flare community content creator, reveals Firelight Fi is built by Into the Block. To deploy XRP staking on Flare networks. So that's the one I'm very curious about that. So Community Flare, content creators, a developer as well. According to Crypto Eddie, on the 11th, he revealed that Firelight Fi, the platform doing the XRP restaking, was built by Into the Block to deploy XRP staking on Flare networks. And official Flare account replies with a darting eyes GIF. So Flare Networks account, the official account, replied with an eye thing there. Okay. April the 14th, Flare account, Flare Networks account, post summer 2025. This was one that got me doing these live streams about why is Flare keep posting about XRP and they keep posting about Ripple? Why is Flare Networks doing that? But anyway, Flare in the summer of 2025, Ripple builds the rails. This is what they posted. Flare Networks posted this. Ripple builds the rails. Flare unlocks the playground. It wasn't luck. You were meant to see this. And he got a little summer emoji there, a sunshine emoji. That's what Flare Networks posted 3 weeks ago, April 14th. Let me read it again. Flare Networks just posted in April. Ripple builds the rails. Flare unlocks the playground. It wasn't luck. You were meant to see this. April 27th. April 27th. Confirmed by Flare on X. Firelight Fi to bring restaking using XRP. Parentheses, XRP Fi. She goes on to say, I'm calling it a bus announcement. Flare Networks in the how do you say blah, 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 blah without saying blah, 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 blah says Eddie shares informative content that's thoughtfully researched. What? That's the comment in Crypto Eddie's post. Eddie shares informative content that's thoughtfully researched. So I liken that to how do you say something without saying something? Yeah. Yeah. That, my friends, is pretty awesome. Wrath Economist said that's a compelling line. It really, really is. And she goes on to say something here. Let me find it because somebody said, right here, Nick LeBeau, founder of Oxenflow, which is a wallet, I believe, on Flare. You might be onto something, Eddie. She says, no might about it. Ripple is bringing institutional DeFi to XRP with Flare. Yeah, she don't make strong statements like that. No might, quote unquote, about it. Ripple is bringing institutional DeFi to XRP with Flare. You know, we've been saying on this channel, Keyless, we've been saying on this channel of late, it feels like Flare Networks is further along in bringing value to XRP holders than any other project. Maybe there's a little something going on between the two of them. Don't you find it odd? I found it very odd, the announcement of Hugo, Flare Networks, presenting at the XRP Apex 2025 in Singapore. And guess what the topic is about? Staking XRP. Now, if there's all this, or if there's all of this, you can't do this unless it's on the XRPL, and you can't do this without da 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 da, and this is that, and this is that. Why would XRPL Apex 2025 bring in Hugo and Flare Networks to present on XRP staking? Do you understand what I'm saying? What's going on, Elvin Noble One? What's going on, my friend? What's going on? Appreciate you checking in. Jeremiah's in the building. It's been a minute, my friend. What's going on? Jeremiah says, I'm starting delegation of Flare in my Bifrost wallet and noticing more and more Flare rewards coming in. Nice. I'm happy for you, bro. Appreciate you checking in, guys. Do me a favor, hit that like button. It's one of the greatest ways you can support the channel. I certainly do appreciate that. Grab your old money merch if you believe in the movement that we're creating. If you believe in that movement, grab you some of that old money doesn't want you to win merch. That's moving is about educating and winning despite what old money wants. That's what it's about. And creating a new 1%. That's what it's about. I hope you get that. Hope you get that for sure. Keyless, legendary. All right. So that's an interesting post right there. I don't know what the second bus incoming is going to look like. But what if there's some kind of, and I think there's some other things too to tie into this. Let me go here. Here. Let's go here. This was something someone found here I thought was a little interesting. He's got another bus. The new company, helmed by Anthony, whatever, co-founder of Trident and former head of risk strategies at Coinbase, is also on track to close a 25 million funding round with New Forum Capital leading the investment. Ripple, Tribe Capital, UDHC, Joint Effects also participated in the fundraising round, with further backing from strategic ecosystem investors, including Curd Ventures, Flare, and Bank AI Ventures. Flare's in the mix with this as well, with that Centura thing. Do you see what I'm saying? Not just Ripple. Flare's on this thing as well. I find that to be very, very fascinating. Now, I thought I just saw something from formerly Into the Block, who's now calling themselves Centura. Here's Flare congratulating the people they invested in. Big congrats to Centura, formerly of Into the Block. They are perfectly positioned. They are perfectly positioned to become a leading institutional DeFi gateway. Ripple, Flare, Centura. Flare Networks reposting the merger announcement from Centura. Centura put this out. Into the Block has merged with Trident Digital to form Centura, an institutional-grade DeFi platform combining yield strategies, risk management, and financial services. Flare reposted and said, big congrats to Centura. They're perfectly positioned to become a leading institutional DeFi gateway. Do you see what I'm saying? Let me share this very, very interesting post from Hugo. Like, I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. I found it to be amusing, but let me see if I can find it right here. Here it is right here, in case you guys missed the live stream last night. Hugo responds to a post from a big-time value add to the XRP community, Crippen Writer. Big-time value add to the community, this guy, Crippen Writer, okay? Make no mistake about it, to the XRP community. This is what he says in his post. One realization that I've had over the last few weeks is that if you can't even get 99% of XRPs held by holders to be used on the XRPL for DeFi in any way, which is just a sad statement, or form in any way or form, I certainly doubt you'll convince them to bridge their coins to another chain for anything, no matter the APR. He goes on to say, not trying to be pessimistic, not trying to be too pessimistic, but the real use case would be a solution that offers a stable 5% plus return on their XRPs that are generated on chain, on the XRPL. Everything else, and I really, really hope I'm wrong, probably won't work because the user base is too conservative. And I want you to really, 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 really pay attention to what he's saying. See if you can catch the message behind the message. This is what Hugo's saying. Like, see if you can catch the message behind the message. Like I said last night, the ladies got it. Keyless, work from home business. The ladies got it. Let's see if you guys got it. This is what Hugo says in response to that. He says two comments. One, there will be vaults on the XRPL where XRP holders can just deposit and earn yield. I'm saying this again. There are going to be vaults on the XRPL. So it's going to be on the XRPL. This yield will be derived from other ecosystems, e.g., Flare. But the assets, the deposited assets are going to be on the XRPL. The vaults abstract away the complexity for the depositor. See, in parentheses, he says, see more markets who Flare will be working with, in parentheses. Hold on a second. You know what I think he's saying here? This this more markets is that I just looked up more markets and I just hopped on a waiting list for them and a platform that they're doing on Flare. So that's what he's talking about. It's a project called More Markets. I just realized that. He says, see more markets who, which is the name of the project, DApp, institution, project, whatever, who Flare will be working with. And I just got on some kind of waiting list for more markets, but we'll see if we can't find that. But the second point, I think, is the real message. This is the message that for me, this is what he's saying to XRP holders. I mean, you know how I get on the holders, keyless and legendary. You know how I get on them. All right, so here's point number two. This is what Hugo says. He says, catering to the majority of XRP holders is expensive in terms of time, education, and resources invested. There are entities who sit on very large amounts of XRP that form the nucleus of a successful strategy to create an XRP FI market. In other words, it's exhausting trying to convince XRP holders. That's just me. I'm paraphrasing. It's exhausting trying to convince XRP holders to let go of the death grip of their ledgers with XRP on it. It's exhausting. We have big players that hold massive amounts of XRP that are forming the nucleus for this strategy of yield and XRP FI. That's what he's saying. I'm paraphrasing. You understand? That's what I'm getting from that. That's why I joke around all the time, Keelan. I say, don't you got $50? I mean, you got $50, don't you? Don't you find it fascinating that Doppler Finance has millions of XRP deposited over there? So maybe Crypto is not, I think it's at the Asian market personally, because they're tied in with Doppler Finance is kind of tied into in some way in partnership with Moy Finance. By the way, the XRP holders outside of the US think completely different than the ones in the US. Completely different. I mean, what do you think Hugo was saying in that comment number 2? What do you think he's saying? What's going on, brother Crypto? Colin Hughes checked in and said, I smashed those likes. I appreciate that. Dano is in the building. Yeah, I just saw that. India did some stuff over there. Interesting. Keela said, "Death grip is right. I was like that for a very long time. Yeah. Finn Conley, so bullish on FLR. Yeah, so bullish on FLR. Finn is so bullish. Indeed. Keela says, this cracked me up yesterday, especially seeing your reaction, Siege. LOL. Yep, guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. That'd be really, really cool. We always like to have just as many likes as we got viewers in the stream. And again, if you happen to be in that 55% or so of people that are hanging out, listening to, and enjoying the CryptoCeej, do me a favor. If you've been enjoying those hangouts, please consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to ring that notification bell, baby, so as you know whenever we go live or whenever we upload a video. That'd be really, really cool. So there it is right there. Crypto Eddie laid down something that I think is fascinating. That was fascinating. She's like, right? It's hidden in plain sight. Second bus. I don't know. When is the Apex 2025? My guy Rick's, no, he's not going to that. He's going to something else. I don't know when it is. It's in Singapore. But I mean, come on. Come on. They're going to invite Hugo and Flare Networks to an XRPL Apex 2025 event for builders and new projects looking to build on the XRPL. They're gonna invite them there. And this dude that I'm going back and forth with on X is talking about Ripple kicked Flare to the curb. What? Said it wasn't really an investment; it was a grant. Like, okay, I don't know if it was a grant or what. Really, I don't even know if it was a grant. To be honest with you, Joe Buddy says, "Why didn't you jump back into XRP sub $2? I know your situation, but that should I did buy more XRP under $2, bro. I did, and then I made it. I said it on a live stream. I said I wasn't going to buy XRP until, but I did make a purchase. I did a live stream about that. I did a live stream about that. I bought some today, says Joe, ruining my per cost. I mean, I don't know about ruining. I don't know about ruining. I mean, are you buying a valuable asset or no at $2? I believe you're buying a valuable asset at $2. That doesn't mean that it's not going to be. I'm still getting 12 to 26 is my range. So let's say I'm right, and I called the top 26. What's 95% of that? What's 95% of $26? Anybody know? Is it 3, 2? I don't know what it is. 50%. 50%. It's like $5 or something, no? If it gets to 26. So 2 might be cheap, right? I know you math guys out there got your calculators. No. 95% of 26 is, I don't know, $6 or $7. Oh, yeah. Mine was 20 something cents. So I get it. But in the end, for me, if you're 95% of $26, that means XRP got to $26, number one. And number two, don't, bear market time, $6 or $7, 5, 6, $7. It's going to be more if we get to 26. But the XRPR is going to be further along, hopefully. There'll be more use cases for the digital asset XRP. So XRP at 5, I told people all the time, I don't have a problem buying XRP at $3, $4, $5, $6. It's going to be more valuable. It'll be more valuable of an asset, right? Because the chain will be further along. Maybe there's some working project on the ledger, right? But as long as somebody's bringing value to XRP holders, somebody's providing use case, it makes the asset more valuable. And this is what Flare is. Flare is further along in that process, in my opinion. Brian Frisbee says, melt faces. I hear you, my friend. So I did make a purchase, maybe two. I don't know, but I did make a purchase for sure, XRP, and it was under $2 when I did it, and it was just I don't even remember why I did it, but I did do it. But I know where I am in terms of the rich list and stuff like that, and it's it's in the upper percentile, of what I had left over from the Celsius debacle, right? Hey Brian, that was a 36. That was Joe Buddy's. What did they call that? What do they call it? Your average something or another. I forget that. So no, 36 cents. Yeah, I'm thinking $12 to $26 has always been my range for XRP this cycle, and we'll see. We'll see. I know some were saying 30 something, so we'll see what it's going to look like. But that's the word on the street. And from Crypto Eddie, I got to tell you, let me look at this again. That, if I can find it, that was very, 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 very promising. Let me see if I can do that. One more time. She said no mind about it. I think that's awesome. So here it is right here. This is the post. This is a really good write-up from her. Really, really good. I'm calling this Flare XRP, Flare slant XRP bus announcement. I'm calling this a Flare slant XRP bus announcement. Ripple backs into the block, now Centura merger. Below is all that is hiding in plain sight. February, Into the Block launched comprehensive dashboard analyzing Flare Network's DeFi ecosystem. March 24th, Into the Block posted on X. XRP restaking on Flare is a massive opportunity. I remember seeing the post thinking, why does Into the Block care? But anyway, April 10th, Into the Block replies to Hugo's post. You've got my attention. That was reference to Firelight Fi, and restaking XRP. April 11th, the next day, Community Flare podcaster, Flare community member, and dev reveals that Firelight Fi is built by Into the Block. I don't know. To deploy XRP staking on Flare networks. And the official Flare account replies with darting eyes GIF or emoji. April the 14th, 3 days later, Flare account posts, summer 2025, Ripple builds the rails. Flare unlocks the playground. It wasn't luck. You were meant to see this with the sunshine emoji. April 27th, confirmed by Flare on X, Firelight Fi to bring restaking using XRP. Parentheses, XRP Fi. She says, Crypto Eddie goes on to say, I'm calling it a bus announcement. Flare Networks in their code post, Eddie shares informative content that's thoughtfully researched. No. It's just one of those, you were meant to see those things from Flare. This is one of those, how do you say Eddie's onto something without saying Eddie's onto something? Right? That's what it is to me. That's what it feels like to me. All right, I'm going to welcome some more people in the stream. I'm going to get to this thing from DCA. Yeah, not DCA. It's just your average price. You know, if you're buying some at 20 cents, you're buying some at a dollar. You put them together, and you got your average cost of entry or something. I forget what they call it. Legendary says, been following this ish for so long, I'd probably see it even if I wasn't supposed to. That's right. That's right, bro. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. That'd be awesome. If you didn't get a chance to do so yet, no worries. Just collapse the chat. Go smash the like. Come back and hang out with the CryptoCeej and family. So there it is. All right. There's the second bus is incoming. It's inbound. It's coming, family. It's not a coincidence that Flare Networks, a layer one EVM blockchain, is going to the XRPL Apex 20, the XRPL Apex 2025 to present on XRP staking. Do you understand? That's not a coincidence. There's a there, as we like to say, right? There's a there. Now let's go to a little bit of the macro. And our guy, Raoul Pal, is just going to remind us of some stuff that is important, that we just continue to stay in the bigger picture. Some people can't see the forest for the tree. We have to see the bigger picture. The definition of vision is seeing it before the masses see it. That's right, legendary. We're the chosen, like it or not. Indeed. All right, so let me share this thing here. Raoul Pal speaking at Sui Basecamp, Dubai 2025.
And you can see that most of the returns of US small caps, REITs, treasuries, preferred stocks, high yield bonds, they're all annualizing at less than 10% a year returns. So owning those assets makes you actually poorer because of the debasement. Once you get to the S&P 500, you're at 12%. Basically, you break even. Divide the S&P 500 by global total liquidity, it's basically a flat line.
This is why the reason why he brought up the 12%, 11 to 12%. He says the actual hurdle rate with inflation and the debasement of currency, the number that you need to get to every single year just to be even is 12%. Who's getting 12% a year in raises? He's pointing out here that Bitcoin has been the best performing asset in the history of asset classes. Bitcoin and crypto, he says, the best performing asset in the history of asset classes. He said the number one and number two things that are doing better than 12% is technology and the digital asset space. Not the S&P 500.
So owning US equities in the broadest sense makes you no money either. So all of the millennials who've been piling money into 401ks are not getting richer. So none of their...
What I've been saying about these 401ks. What have I been saying about these freaking 401ks and these content creators here out here promoting that stuff? Now, it's cool if you're swapping it. It's too late now. You've been in it for 20 something years. And you're swapping over. Like my guy did, James Rule did. Smart move. He swapped that stuff over. He got out of there. He must have read the book, The Pirates of Manhattan, books 1 and 2. He got out. He converted that stuff. That's another thing. I'm not talking about converting. I'm talking about hanging out in that nonsense, being feed to death and hoodwinked and bamboozled every single year. Anyhow.
401ks will buy them as much of a house and stuff like that. Only when you get to technology investing do you start beating the benchmark. And so this realization from the Everything Code is the basement of code.
All right, let's see if we can make this bigger here. He's got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. 1, 2, 3. He's got annualized returns of 130% for Bitcoin, 113% for Ethereum, and 142% for Solana. Oh, my dude is listening. My dude. Oh, my dude. He know he is. I hope he's listening.
Currency, there are only two assets that matter in the entire world. One is technology, and two is crypto. And crypto dwarfs everything else. It is the greatest performing asset in all recorded history. We've never had anything like this before. So here's Bitcoin since 2012, 130% annualized. That's including three gigantic drawdowns. Ethereum at 113 and Solana at 142. So, and Solana obviously starts later. So the magnitude of the returns is enormous. The volatility we have to stomach to do it is the game. And it's a matter of, I've told everybody about the don't fuck this up thesis of how to deal with volatility, how not
Oh,
to.
you know what? Let me look at this chart real quick and see if we can't. Okay, so he's got the years here. He says since 2012. So obviously you can track 2012 for Bitcoin annualized, and you can't do, I don't know why he's got Ethereum 2016. Okay. So let me see. Can I make this any bigger so you guys might be able to see what I'm seeing? Maybe. So anyway, that's what he's got here. These are the years. 2011, the annualized return for Bitcoin was 1,474%. And then it's gone down, and you do all the numbers. Thus far, Bitcoin is returning minus 12% in 2025, but annualized, it's 130%. So he's got all the years, right, since 2012. So it does have negative years, right? 2014 was negative 56%. 2018 was negative 73%. 2022, negative 64%. 2025, currently to present, minus 12%. Then he did the cumulative return, which is 27,516 something percent for Bitcoin. And then annualized from 2012 is 130. The cumulative return for ETH, 196,000%. And Solana, cumulative 8,153%, annualized 142%. And he's comparing it to the NASDAQ and these large caps, small caps, the RIPS, the treasuries. In the digital asset space, the things that we put in the 90% bucket, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, is killing the game. Just so you know, just what that picture is. All right, so let's do this.
That's including three gigantic drawdowns. Ethereum at 113 and Solana at 142. So, and Solana obviously starts later. So the magnitude of the returns is enormous. The volatility we have to stomach to do it is the game. And it's a matter of, I've told everybody about the don't fuck this up thesis of how to deal with volatility, how not to lose control of your tokens, because this stuff compounds over time. Bitcoin since 2012, 27.5 million% returns. Again, nothing ever has remotely come close to this. So that's the opportunity. And we said the tech stocks, they're great, and Bitcoin or crypto is great. Fantastic. Then you look at the NASDAQ versus Bitcoin, it's down 99.94%. Crypto is this super massive black hole. That simply outperforms, and this is the big one. The big
Uh, I don't know if that's me.
Happens, they inject more liquidity. So they're giving you free money. And to take that money, you need the volatility. So what causes the volatility? Well, it's actually driven by liquidity again. Once you come to narrow time horizons, liquidity changes things. So we've just gone through a 3-month period of the market feeling shit and everyone's saying it's all over, we're never going to have a hold season, everything's terrible, we're all going to die. What was actually happening was the fact that in Q4 2024, financial conditions tightened. And we measure financial conditions by the dollar, rates, interest rates, and oil. All of those went up in Q4, and there's a 3-month lag, and it drives it. So here's a simple way. We're now seeing people saying the economy's slow, shipping's slow, all of the tariff stuff. The market's priced in this tariff stuff last year once they saw the probabilities of a Trump re-election. So what we've got here is the Economic Surprises Index of the US versus other countries in the world, i.e., when it's going down, the US is underperforming in economic surprises term. When it goes up, it outperforms. It's basically just following the dollar and rates. And what it's saying is, whatever noise we're seeing now in the economic data, which is some of the tariffs-related stuff, as people have built inventories very quickly, liquidity is going to completely erase that very quickly. We saw it exactly in 2017 when Trump imposed similar tariffs, similar backdrop. The dollar and rates fell. And what we saw back then was the same collapse in the Economic Surprises Index. We had talks about recession all over again back then. Trump's going to create a recession. Then what happened was the liquidity conditions drove all economic data higher. And when we look at that economic data, Bitcoin's already priced it in. It's already priced in, weaker than the economic data itself. So what are we fearing right now? What are people worried about? People are worried about what they're doing is creating narratives for today to explain liquidity conditions from 3 months ago. That's the ridiculousness of what goes on Twitter all day. It is a lack of understanding of what actually drives these markets. What are the dominant factors? The dominant factor is financial conditions, which lead liquidity, which lead markets. And even in markets, it's gold actually follows financial conditions the closest. Then with a lag, it becomes crypto and tech. Then with a lag, it becomes the S&P 500, cyclicals, commodities, all of those things. So people are talking about recession now. We've had this negative GDP print. A lot of this is technically driven by the imports that are happening to load up on inventories as tariffs come, so people don't have the price shock. Okay, fine. So most of this is going to get unwound. Why? Because global growth is about to pick up super fast. So the Philly Fed, this whole presentation was put together a week and a half ago to send here, so it's all out of date. So the Philly Fed latest numbers came in exactly as predicted by us, by this chart. It's actually quite useful because I just went through this morning, and all of this was from 2 weeks ago, and it's all proven to work. So Philly Fed comes down now. So what we should see is now an increase in economic activity going forwards. So the back end of the year is going to look very different than the first quarter did. I use a lot of technical analysis. I didn't do it on economic data, which is abhorrent to most people, but it's worked for me for 35 years. And I use, this is a system called DMOC indicators. And basically it's telling you that we should see the economic surprises starting to rise. Bitcoin is led by financial conditions here by 3 months. The year-on-year rate of change of Bitcoin, we should start to see very dramatic movements in the price of Bitcoin going forward. I'll show you a bit more in a sec. And to go back to that idea that the Trump cycle is repeating, I mean, it's an incredible repeat, but more powerful even than 2017. Those of us who were in crypto in 2017, that's when I made the mistake around this time of year, thinking, you know what, I'm going to sell my Bitcoin at 2,000. I bought it at 200 in 2013. It went to 20,000 at the end of the year, and I felt like a complete moron. And I managed to buy it back in the sell-off in COVID, and I bought it back at 6,500. So I sold it at 2,000 and bought it back at 6,500. That's how not to do things. That's called fucking it up. And so I'm trying to teach you how not to do that. So the dollar, Trump last time around, same thing. The market's priced in tariffs. The the dollar screamed higher. It created this weak patch of growth. Trump came out and said the dollar's too high. Guess what? Scott Bessent, who's a macro hedge fund manager, I've known him for 20 years, 25 years. He understands the game. Trump said the same thing. Everyone said the same thing. The dollar's too strong. And hey, presto, the dollar has utterly collapsed. And we haven't started yet. And it's a cyclical thing. It's not the end of the dollar. That's another narrative you read. There can't be the end of the dollar right now because 87% of world trade is in dollars and 50% of the entire world's debt are in dollars. So that's 200% of global GDP is actually in dollars. So there's a shortage of dollars globally, and that won't go away for a long time. So the dollar's collapsing. This kind of thing is a massive tailwind. As the dollar weakens, it means that the more global exports pick up. Everybody who's a foreigner who services US government debt, it's cheaper to service the debt, cost them less of their domestic currency cash flows. So it's a very powerful setup. A weak dollar is incredibly good for world growth. It allows China, everybody else to start exporting. The whole world economy starts picking up. The last time this happened, the Trump cycle, well, that was the initial correction that we got. We had this whole period of correction, much like we've had now. It stopped in about March. Well, we got to about April, and then we did this. And from that correction low, it did a 23x. Now, I don't expect Bitcoin to do a 23x because this was much earlier in its adoption curve, but some of the others will, something close to it. We've got a perfect setup, one of the best setups I've ever seen, because we know the debt has to be rolled. We know the forward-looking liquidity is coming, and we know how assets react to it. Just like having a crystal ball, nothing will be perfect, but directionally, it should be right. So let's look at this liquidity cycle, break it down a little bit. So when you look at it, global M2 is a good proxy for total global liquidity. Why I use this on these charts is it's more real time. Total global liquidity is takes a longer to calculate for the various data inputs. But global M2 does a very good job. Again, like the dollar version, this is wildly outperforming what happened at the Trump previous cycle. So we've got plenty of dollar liquidity. Global M2 is driven by two things: the dollar itself, which is why it's accelerating so much, and then the global financial system, that's the banks. And what they're doing now, all of the governments around the world and the central banks are forcing the banks to buy debts. Basel IV is a reason behind that. The new changes to the SLR in the US, all of this is a way of forcing bonds and debt into the banking system, and then forcing the banks to create more money using them as reserves. It's just another way of debasing the currency. So global M2, when we look at it outright, it does the same pattern every time. These patterns repeat not out of voodoo, it's because it's driven by the debt refi cycle. The average maturity of global debt is 4 years. They're all between the 3 and 5 year sector. There's some long-term debt. Nobody can issue long-term debt because the market won't absorb it. So what we find is we're shorter term. Every time we do this, we have a breakout, a retest. So this was the 16-17 cycle. This is the equivalent one, I think, now. Breakout, retest, explodes higher, does this whole liquidity tightening. That's the bear market. That's when the economy slows down. That's when rates go up. Does the same thing. COVID gave it a false, a double shot. It did it again. We're doing exactly the same thing. It's almost a complete repeat of the 2017. So what we're seeing is global M2 at all-time highs. That should mean all-time highs for asset prices. That's how the world works. What we've also got here is global M2 against Bitcoin. So it's the same chart, but now we can see what happens to Bitcoin every time this happens. It breaks out, retest, and then Bitcoin starts hitting the next leg of the banana zone. Usually you start the banana zone a bit earlier with the breakout, you have the correction, and then it goes. And I've talked about this. There's 3 phases of the banana zone. Phase 1 was Q1 last year. As we started to break out in all these measures, new all-time highs in liquidity, Bitcoin goes to all-time highs. We have the corrective period, which is the correction zone, and then we get the banana zone part 2, which is usually alt season. This is the stable chart that everybody in the world has copied from me, but this is the global M2 chart versus Bitcoin with a 12-week lead. It's been like voodoo. It is the most voodoo-like chart I've ever come across, and it works. Will it work entirely? Often what you find is later on, Bitcoin outperforms global M2 because of the speculative mania that builds over time as people realize what's going on. What it tells us is the back end of this year is basically a one-way street with a few corrections.
Mm.
The corrections will be normal. You will be questioning me saying, is it all finished? Is the banana zone finished? Is it all over? Do I need to get out now? And generally speaking, just follow the money. It really is that simple. The other thing is, okay, well, with the dollar and the banking systems doing this, well, the other thing that's doing it is the central banks. China is starting to print money. China has, I think, by my measure, 3 to 4 trillion to print, but they need the weaker dollar. They need to agree the tariffs with the US. In exchange, the US will continue to weaken the dollar. They will allow the dollars into the Chinese system so they can refi all of the dollar debts. And a lot of China debts, all of corporate debts are in dollars. So what happens is we're starting to break out, and that adds to this push of liquidity. So it's not just the weaker dollar itself, not just the banking system, but it's the central banks starting to pump liquidity into the system as well, because they've all got to roll the debt. And that's why it's so cyclical. Every time the total global liquidity index breaks out, again, the same thing with M2, the market goes higher. And the reason being is I talked about the correlation. Well, here's the chart. It's a 90% correlation with the global liquidity. That's Bitcoin. And the NASDAQ is a stunning 95%. And so it's hard to refute that this is not what is happening. It's so obvious, but most people want to refuse to believe it. They start mid-curving the whole thing, saying, well, that's not the printing of money, and this is not how it is. It's so clear in the data. It's so obvious that this has been going on. And even when you listen to Scott Bessent speak or Janet Yellen speak, they all talk about this. They talk about in the terms of basically the everything code framework. Business cycle. Business cycle is currently weak. The business cycle is the most important cyclical factor. It drives, it's part of the global liquidity construct. So the business cycle actually came out today or yesterday at 48.7, slightly weaker as we've been expecting. Bitcoin's already priced it down to 47.4. So Bitcoin's already priced in the bad news. But the good news is financial conditions lead it by 9 months. It's a very useful tool. And it's telling us that we're going to see the business cycle pick up super strong. And this will keep going. I think we'll end up in the 60s. It also prices Bitcoin by doing this. And so when you look at Bitcoin itself, the moment the ISM, we've had this very low period of ISM, and that was driven by this very flat dollar, and also by rates staying higher than normal. But as the ISM starts crossing 50, economic growth comes back, earnings come back, household earnings come back, stuff gets reinvested in markets. So at this point is when Bitcoin super accelerates. And that point lies ahead. We're about to see that point now. Now, I haven't shown it on this presentation, but we've also imputed how it reacts to ISM. And if we get to that 57 ISM, that puts Bitcoin at 450,000. Is it exact? Will it be exactly that?
I wanted to kind of end it there. 450,000. Is it exactly there? I mean, I don't know if anyone really knows, but I just wanted to really share, kind of Raoul's thoughts on that. If you want to watch that interview for sure on your own, you just type in SUI on YouTube, and it's on their YouTube channel. You'll be able to catch that in full for sure. I apologize if it wasn't loud enough, but yeah. So I just wanted, again, that's his numbers. He thinks that he says um, in his presentation that most people are, um, what is it? They're uh, they're doing the conservative numbers for BTC because of all the stuff, all the negative stuff that's happened. And so, but anyway, it doesn't mean it's going to get to 450,000. If the ISM gets to 57, doesn't mean that maybe the ISM doesn't get that high. He believes it's going to get to, I think he said 60, the ISM. So um, it's going to be interesting to see. But my thing is Bitcoin is going to do 3x from now, or is that's, you know, with 3 or 4x from now is it's interesting to see what it's going to get to. But that means alt season is going to be pretty cool for the right assets, and certainly we're going to see how it goes this time around, because I think when you think about BlackRock and other people, it's going to be interesting to see, is this going to be a WAGMI? We're all going to make it. All the digital assets are going to moon. It's going to be interesting to see. We don't know what it is going to look like. Are the days, you can't say the days of 20, 30, and 40, 50x are done, because it's happened up until this point. There's been 20x's and 30x's. It's just some people were in on those, and most people were not in on those. I mean, freaking deep SUI ecosystem, which is massively profitable, massively what is the word? Not possible. It's massively popular. I mean, the deep token is 17 to 20x. It was just 1 cent. It's like 19 cents or so now. So, right? So the people are doing 20 and 20, 25 and 30 X's right now. But it's going to be interesting to see when we do get the big push. Now, he did later in this video say in that presentation, dude's talking, you know, Q1 and Q2 of 2026, you know, because of financial conditions. And I think maybe this is what people are calling these extended, never going to end type bull runs. But yeah, he's the second guy. I was just listening to Peter Dunsworth, and he was saying the same thing. Q1, Q2, 2026. You know, this thing that we got going on, we're in a bull run with pullbacks, with 30 to 35%, 20 to 35% pullbacks. Yeah. So, you know, it's hard to say, it's hard to put a date on or a time when the alts are going to do the thing that most people are looking forward to. Which is why I believe you want to hold Bitcoin just for as a savings, so you can benefit from it, right? As well, right? So there it is, fam. I want to share that with you guys for the macro picture from Raoul Pal, from my guy Raoul Pal. I appreciate you guys checking in. Do me a favor, hit that like button on the way out if you didn't get a chance to do so on the way in. That'd be really cool. Again, if you want to grab that old money doesn't want you to win merch, if you believe in the movement that we're going to build here, so if it makes sense to you, if you feel like you are aware of what was the system and how it was rigged against you, and you want to make a statement about, that's okay though. You want to make that statement because we're in crypto and DeFi. Be sure to grab you some of that old money doesn't want you to win merch. I'm going to put this in here. I think I did it for you guys to grab it, but it'll be a link in the description of the into the live stream as well. Appreciate you guys checking in. Do me a favor, hit that like button on the way out. And if you happen to be in that 55% or so of people hanging out, listening to and watching the CryptoCeej, if you've been enjoying those hangouts, please consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to ring that notification bell. I'm going to end this live stream like I do all my live streams and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. And I would ask you to consider this, or perhaps ponder the idea or notion of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye.